Alright, y'all, let me paint you a picture. You're sitting in a flat-bottom boat, humidity thick enough to butter toast, Spanish moss hanging from the trees like Mother Nature's Mardi Gras beads, and your guide, a local who probably wrestled his first gator before he could ride a bike, is pointing out a 12-foot prehistoric lizard hanging out right beside the boat. Welcome to Dr. Wagner's Honey Island Swamp Tour, and I'm telling you right now, it's one of the most badass adventures you can have this side of a Bass Pro Shop parking lot. Now here's the kicker. The whole time you're floating through this primeval swamp, creeping past cypress trees and water so dark it looks brewed, you're following the Pearl River, which just so happens to be the western border of the state of Mississippi. That's right, this ain't just any swamp. This is Mississippi's front porch and Louisiana's backyard, all rolled into one sweaty, magical stretch of bayou. So while you're out here watching raccoons catching marshmallows like Mardi Gras beads, just know that across that narrow, muddy stretch of water, that's Mississippi. You could holler over there and maybe hit someone's crawfish boil with your voice. The Pearl River is the line, the divider, the muddy handshake between two southern states that love fried food and mistrust the government in equal measure. Let's talk gators. Mississippi got a decent little reptile roster going, with somewhere between 32,000 and 35,000 American alligators slipping around the swamps and rivers, according to the folks at the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and right off I-10, just past the gas stations and the pine trees thick enough to hide a moonshine still or two, there's a place that'll slap the well damn right out of your mouth. It's called Infinity Science Center, and buddy, it ain't your average roadside attraction. This ain't a gift shop with some fake moon rocks and a cardboard cutout of an astronaut. This is the real deal, government funded, rocket tested, space and swamp science compound where the South gets loud for the moon. It's the official visitor center for NASA's Stennis Space Center, which, in case you didn't know, is where they test rocket engines so powerful they'll shake the crawfish right out of their holes. Back in the 1960s, when JFK said, "Let's go to the moon," NASA looked around and said, "Where can we set off explosions loud enough to scare God's dog?" And naturally, they picked a mosquito-infested patch of Mississippi swamp and called it Stennis. They booted out a few towns, built some giant concrete towers, and got to work test firing the F-1 engines that powered the legendary Saturn V rocket. The same towering hunk of all-American overkill that sent Neil and Buzz moonwalking while half the world watched on television, and the other half asked, how the hell did they get up there? And speaking of the Saturn V, it's the crown jewel out front at Infinity. You walk up and bam, This matriarch of moonshot machinery wasn't just some oversized metal stick. She was humanity's middle finger to gravity and a big old wink to the cosmos. This wasn't a rocket built for subtlety. This was built to go and let the whole damn world know it was going. Back in the swinging 60s, over at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, Wernher von Braun and his crew were cooking up something fierce. What they ended up with was the most powerful rocket ever launched, the Saturn V. This beast could hurl 130 tons into Earth orbit, which is basically like shot-putting 4 city buses into the sky. And if you needed to go a little further, say, to the moon, she'll still tote another 48 US tons like it is nothing. She stands 363 feet tall, about the size of a 36-story building, and could throw down 7.6 million pounds of thrust. That's enough juice to run 85 Hoover dams, just to lift a glorified tin can full of humans toward a glowing rock in the sky. Her first flight, Apollo 4 in 1967, was a full stack test. NASA said screw it, like the whole damn thing, and it went off without a hitch. Then came the golden age. Apollo 8 circled the moon, Apollo 11 put Neil and Buzz on it, and the whole world watched us bounce around up there like giddy kids in a sandbox. Mission 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17 followed, each one riding that same still stallion. Apollo 13 had a rough go, but that wasn't Saturn's fault. The rocket did its job. The spaceship's plumbing just had stage fright, and when the moon trip dried up, Saturn V still had one last act, launching the Skylab space station in 1973 before retiring like a champion. And this one here, this is SIC-15, the last first stage Saturn V ever built. She was supposed to fly on Apollo 19 before that mission got canned, then ended up as a backup for Skylab. She never left the ground, but she sure has left a mark. On June 20th, 2006, they floated her down the same waterway used for active rockets back in the day, and now she's parked here for everybody to see. You can walk right on up to her, look at those 5 massive engine bells, and feel the swamp-born power that once shook this corner of the Earth. But that's not all. There is a big-ass rocket booster sitting there like it's just part of the landscape. It's over 30 feet tall and looks like it could launch your cousin Daryl's bass boat into orbit. Inside, it only gets better. Moon rocks, spacesuits, hurricane simulators, man-eating plants, and touchscreens galore. Your kids can pretend they're a weatherman, crawl through a space capsule, and learn more in an afternoon than they did all semester in middle school science class. And if that's not enough, they even got a mock International Space Station you can walk through, plus a 3D theater so immersive you'll swear you're getting sucked into a black hole, which is kind of like the Waffle House parking lot at 2 a.m., just colder. But let's not forget the real-life Mississippi space hero, Fred Hayes. Born and raised in Biloxi, this good old boy was just a local pilot until NASA tapped him to be on Apollo 13. You know, the one that exploded halfway there. Fred was all set to walk on the moon, but instead, he ended up in a tin can flying through space with a busted oxygen tank and no plan except survive. And did he panic? No. He MacGyvered that sucker home with duct tape, elbow grease, and good old Gulf Coastal grit. Then he turned around and flew the space shuttle like it was just another day at the office. Dude has got a statue in Biloxi, a Medal of Freedom, and more hours in space than your average Delta pilot has in the air. And if you go to infinity, you can walk in his footsteps. Well, not his actual footsteps, but dang near close enough. Now, if you're talking about Lakeshore Beach, buddy, you better slow down and take a deep breath first. This ain't no spring break circus with DJ booths and day drunk influencers. This is Mississippi chill, served up with a side of sea breeze and maybe a little sunburn if you ain't careful. It's the kind of beach where you bring your own beer, your own chair, and maybe that lawn umbrella that's been in the garage since 2009. The waves don't shout, they whisper. The sand don't burn, it cradles. And the locals, they're not here for a show, they're here for peace. Now, if you feel like cranking it up a notch, you got the Silver Springs Casino.
Sitting pretty like your rowdy cousin who brings a stripper to Thanksgiving dinner.
It opened in 2006. First land-based casino built from scratch on this whole Mississippi coast after Hurricane Katrina punched everyone in the teeth. Now, inside, there's over 750 slot machines, 20 table games, a damn fine sports book, and a buffet that don't play. It's called the Jubilee, and it's like somebody dared your mama to cook everything she ever made, and she said, bring it on. They also got a 129-room hotel, which means you can pass out in style after losing $40, trying to beat the roulette wheel with a system. And bonus, you're still just a stone's throw from that beach. Now let me tell you about a little old building in Waveland, Mississippi that took a beating from the wrath of Katrina. And even after all it had been through, it still stood there, weather beaten, worn down, but proud, like it had a debt to settle with the storm, and wasn't quitting till it did. I'm talking about the Waveland Ground Zero Hurricane Museum. And buddy, this place ain't your average collection of dusty plaques or souvenir magnets. Housed in the former Waveland Elementary School, pretty much the only dang public building left standing on Coleman Avenue after Katrina came through like the wrath of God with the hangover. It's now a museum that's part history lesson, part gut punch, and all heart. Now, Waveland wasn't exactly a stranger to hurricanes. Camille smacked it around in '69, but Katrina straight up erased it. 38 good folks lost their lives. And when the water finally went down, all that was left was a slab here, a foundation there, and that old school building standing defiant. They could have bulldozed it, but instead, a couple of locals, Basil Kennedy and Lily Staller Murphy, decided to turn it into a monument to grit, grief, and getting back up again. They didn't just rebuild a museum, they stitched together a whole story of survival. Inside, you'll find everything from rescue markers scrawled on the walls to personal artifacts, water lines drawn like battle scars, and quilts sewn with memories too heavy for words. There's a hurricane simulator that'll shake your soul, a short film that'll hit you right in the tear ducts, and photos that show how hard folks fought to stay alive and rebuild. One minute you're looking at a child's toy pulled from the rubble, and the next you're learning how to prepare for the next big one. Because down here, hurricanes ain't if, they're when. And the best part, it's free. Ain't that something? A museum this powerful, run by volunteers, and they won't even charge you a dime. But just ask for a little donation if you're feeling generous. It's open Tuesday through Saturday, and if you time it right, you may catch a hurricane preparedness seminar or one of the remembrance events they hold every year. You'll walk out with a deeper appreciation of the Gulf Coast and the people who call it home. Folks who have been knocked flat more times than they can count and still manage to get back up swinging. So if you find yourself driving along the Mississippi coast and you think all that's down here is shrimp and casinos, make a little detour to Waveland, stop in, shake the hands of the folks keeping this story alive, and maybe, just maybe, you'll leave with a little more hope than you came in with. Let me tell y'all about Good Earth Records, down in Bay St. Louis. A little vinyl stuffed slice of Southern magic tucked behind a massage place like some kind of musical speakeasy. You'll find it on the back porch of 212 Main Street, and buddy, if you enjoy flipping through old records, this is your Graceland. Now, this ain't some sterile big box setup where all the records smell like shrink wrap and disappointment. No, Doug Page, aka DJ Doug Funny, and Aaron Warfield built this place out of love, sweat, and probably a few bad decisions involving eBay and flea markets. They started over in New Orleans during the pandemic because why not launch a passion project right in the middle of global chaos? And eventually brought the whole operation across the water to the Bay. What do they sell? Well, what don't they sell? They got vinyl, old and new, regional music you ain't never heard of but obviously should have, dusty cassette tapes, retro CDs, weird music documentaries on DVD, succulents, crystals, handmade art, vintage clothes, and furniture that may or may not be haunted. It's like if your artsy cousin who DJs on the weekend and sells ferns out of his garage won the lottery and opened a store. So yeah, Good Earth Records, it ain't just a record store, it's an entire vibe. It's where you go when you want vinyl with a whole heap and helping of Gulf Coastal soul. Highly recommend. Alright, y'all, let's see what I got from Rare Earth Records. Music. First up, from all the way back in 1971, ZZ Top's first record. That little old band from Texas. Next up, Paul Simon's Rhythm of the Saints, unopened, still sealed, from 1990, one of my favorite albums. And then, a little art, boom, a Maggie May original. Now, Maggie May is a New Orleans artist known for her bright, joyful work. She's painted everything from gallery pieces to Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville, including murals, signs, and tequila bottles. She also creates fun souvenirs, teaches art therapy, and wrote The Teddy Bears Visits New Orleans. Hope the teddy bears had a good time. Her art lifts spirits and keeps dreams alive. Keep the dream alive, y'all. Alright, y'all, if you ain't spent the 4th of July in a boat in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, then you've been doing this freedom thing all wrong. Down here, we celebrate America with our feet in the water, a koozie in each hand, and a pontoon full of cousins who brought more fireworks than sense. By mid-afternoon, the marina looks like a patriotic yard sale on the water. Boats decked out in flags, streamers, and at least one inflatable eagle wearing sunglasses. Folks are cranking Skinner, Zac Brown, kids are cannonballing off the bow. The whole thing's tied up just off Bay St. Louis Beach, where the sand's soft, the dogs are welcome, and the only dress code is shirt optional, sunscreen, highly encouraged. Families are digging in coolers, tossing frisbees, and playing cornhole next to a crab bowl big enough to feed an entire church revival. Alright, y'all, now let me tell you about this little gem of a town they call Pass Christian, or just the Pass if you're in the know. It's the kind of place where the breeze smells like salt and magnolias, the neighbors still wave at you, and the history hangs off every tree. It's a 2-mile stretch of pure southern eye candy, lined with ancient live oaks that have been standing guard longer than your Meemaw's cast iron skillet. And houses so pretty they look like they fell right out of a Tennessee Williams play. We're talking antebellum mansions, cozy cottages, and porch swings made for sweet tea and tall tales. This whole area is so steeped in history, they slapped it on the National Register of Historic Places, all the way back in 1979. Basically Uncle Sam's way of saying, y'all better not mess with this, and they didn't. Now I can't leave this place without talking about a few of these houses. First up, the Blue Rose Mansion, which ain't just another pretty house with a porch. It's a straight up Southern legend. Built around 1848 by the Fitzpatrick family, it's one of the oldest antebellum West Indian-style homes still standing on the Gulf Coast. Big wraparound porch, tall ceilings, wide windows, all made to beat the heat before air conditioning showed up. Over the years, it's seen more hurricanes than a Waffle House on Bourbon Street. It became a restaurant and antique shop in the 1990s, survived Katrina in 2005, and now lives on as a fancy event venue, thanks to owners Phil LaGrange and Herb Pursley. They fixed it up, filled it with antiques and art, and kept the old soul of the place alive. Long story short, it's a historic house that's still showing out. And if you ever wanted a party like it's 1849, this is your spot. 513 East Scenic Drive ain't your average beach house. It's a straight up Swiss chalet, looking like it took a wrong turn from the Alps and landed in Pass Christian. Built around 1889 by Frank Whitman Sr., this rare beauty's got steep gables, big old eaves, and wraparound porches built for catching Gulf breezes and neighborhood gossip. It's the last of its kind on Scenic Drive, and tough as nails. It survived Hurricane Katrina like a champ. Inside, it's all hardwood floors, vintage charm, and just enough fancy to make you say, damn! The state made it a Mississippi landmark in 2008, but locals already knew it was special. It ain't just a house, it's a living, breathing Gulf Coast history with a little Swiss Miss twist. 765 East Scenic started out a proper Georgian back in the mid-1800s, but got chill and breezy sometime around the 1970s, and a 2008 remodel. The Matthew folks, Carol and Dell, turned that button-up southern mansion into a laid-back coastal classic worthy of afternoon tea on the porch. Picture grand Georgian bones softened by deep, welcoming porches, French doors swinging wide to catch every Gulf breeze, and airy rooms that say, come on in and stay a while. Katrina shook things up, sure, but this home just shrugged, got fixed up, and kept on being beautiful. It ain't just a house, it's a Georgian turned coastal icon, proof that you can modernize without losing your charm. Perfect for porch sitting, breeze loving, southern elegance meets beach vibes energy. For this one, we gotta go all the way back to the 1850s, when a New Orleans gent named John Back decided to build himself a little slice of paradise, right here on the Gulf in Pass Christian. And by little, I mean a big old white column southern dream home, perched high on brick piers, sitting pretty beneath the magnolias with wraparound porches, wide enough to host a coronation. This place wasn't just built for comfort, it was built to show off, and yeah, it worked. Fast forward to the winter of 1913, and who comes strolling down Scenic Drive but President Woodrow Wilson himself? That's right, the Commander-in-Chief packed up his family and made this swanky coastal cottage his winter escape from all that D.C. shenanigans. Folks around here were so tickled, they started calling it the Dixie White House, and buddy, that name stuck tighter than a church fan to a sweaty preacher. For a few months, Pass Christian was basically the capital of the United States, and you best believe Wilson spent his afternoons on that porch, wondering if Congress was messing up the country while he sipped tea and listened to the tide roll in. Probably were, right? But, as with all great Southern tales, here comes the tragedy. Hurricane Camille hit in 1969 like the wrath of God and tore that beautiful house to pieces. Locals, not the ones to let history die quietly, built a near-identical version right there on the same spot. And wouldn't you know it, Hurricane Katrina came through in 2005 and did the same damn thing. Just when it seemed like the Dixie White House was gone for good, they built it again. Because down here, we don't let tradition go without a fight and at least 3 rebuilds. That house you see today on East Scenic, it ain't the original, but it's close enough to make your grandmother weep. Back around 2008, the new version got the same raised foundation, those broad, breezy porches, classical columns, and a front that looks like it was designed to host a Southern debutante ball, or a presidential address, right? They used modern hurricane-resistant materials this time, so hopefully it don't get snatched up by the next storm that's the size to throw hands with the Mississippi coast. To the average passerby, it's the Dixie White House, plain and simple. A respectful, well-done revival that keeps the memory alive and kicking. It's part time machine, part architectural flex, and part Gulf Coast stubbornness. Alright, so here's the deal. After the Civil War, folks down here figured out 2 things real quick. 1, the Gulf was full of shrimp, and 2, they had boats. Match made in southern fried heaven. By the early 1900s, Pass Christian had turned into a full-blown shrimping hotspot with old-school trawl boats and whole families working the docks like it was Sunday supper. They had Italians, Cajuns, Vietnamese, and every salty Gulf soul in between, hauling in white shrimp, brown shrimp, and whatever else the tide dragged in. Then came the shrimp sheds, big old tin-roof buildings where workers could pack shrimp by the bucketful, cuss a lot, and listen to blues on busted radios. The smell was, distinctive, but so was the paycheck. This wasn't tourist shrimp either. This was hard-working callus on your knuckles, Hope the storm holds off kind of shrimping. Hurricanes knocked them down more than once, but like any good South Mississippi town, they rebuilt, cussed the weather, and kept trawling. Nowadays, the shrimp fleet's a little smaller, and a lot of shrimp comes from overseas. But you'll still see those iconic double-rigged boats lining the harbor. Flags flapping, diesel engines coughing, and old-timers sitting around talking about back when shrimp was thick as skeeters. And you know what? They're still out there every season, heading out into the Gulf before sunup, chasing the next haul, just like their granddaddies did. So if you're ever in the past, eat the damn shrimp. It's not just fresh, it's living, breathing, fried up in a poor boy kind of history. Alright y'all, Gocher's at the harbor is about as real deal Gulf Coast as it gets. It's a no-frills dockside joint where you can grab fresh off the boat shrimp, plus ice and maybe a little local chatter. Run by the Gocher family, they've been doing this for generations. No neon signs, no gimmicks, just shrimp, salt air, and southern grit. It ain't just a seafood stop, it's part of the heartbeat of the harbor. If you're looking to get your toes in some sugar white sand, and maybe a little saltwater in places you forgot existed, Ship Island is where it's at. Catch the ferry out of Gulfport, either at 9 a.m. or noon. Get there early, or you'll be watching that boat pull off without you. Once you land, it's like stepping into a Jimmy Buffett fever dream. And you got options. Lay out on the beach like a sun-drunk lizard. Go poking around Fort Massachusetts where the National Park Service will give you the rundown on cannonballs and yellow fever. Or just walk the shoreline like you're contemplating life or trying to find a decent shell without stepping on a jellyfish. They got bathrooms, showers, chairs and umbrellas to rent, and a snack bar if you didn't bring your own sunscreen or a Dr. Pepper. Only thing is, the weather can play games some days. You may get a thunderstorm or two in the afternoon, so bring a poncho or at least pretend like you didn't notice the lightning. And hey, don't bring glass, don't bring your dog, and definitely don't bring a drone unless you're trying to get tackled by a park ranger named Earl. Now, if you're really slick, catch the 9 a.m. ferry. Stay for the whole day and hop back on the 5 p.m. ride back, feeling sunburned, sandy, and a little bit more at peace with the world. Alright y'all, look at what I picked up at Gocher's. 2 pounds of jumbo shrimp. And there's only one thing you can make with those. New Orleans style barbecue shrimp. So hold on to your bobby socks, because we're about to cook them up. First thing we have to do is preheat that oven to 400 degrees. Then we wash our shrimp and gather our ingredients. All right, Gocher's did us right. There's 24 shrimp, so that's 12 shrimp per pound. Those are jumbo. So if you're getting 26, 27 count per pound and they're calling it jumbo shrimp, they're just doing that to raise the price. This is what real jumbo shrimp look like. Some of these things are just huge. Look at that. Almost the size of my fist, almost the size of my hand right there. Alright, you want to pat them dry. We're keeping the shells and the heads on. That gives it extra flavor when we cook it. Then put your shrimp into a deep dish casserole and make your sauce. Alright, the first thing we're going to need is a whole stick of unsalted butter. We're cooking Paula Deen style tonight. Then we're going with a 1/4 cup of good extra virgin olive oil. Then a tablespoon of minced garlic. Then 2 teaspoons of good old-fashioned Worcestershire sauce. Then we're going to add a juice of 1 lemon. Then 1 teaspoon Cajun seasoning. And it can't be barbecue shrimp without the pepper. 1/2 teaspoon good black pepper. 1/2 teaspoon paprika. A 1/4 teaspoon thyme. A 1/4 teaspoon cayenne pepper. More if you're feeling brave. And of course I gotta use Tabasco sauce. 1 teaspoon Tabasco sauce. 1/4 cup seafood broth. And a must-have, French bread to sop up all that delicious barbecue shrimp sauce. Add your olive oil. Let that come kind of come up a temperature. Then add your butter. Then add a tablespoon of your garlic. And you just want to cook this for 30 seconds so it's fragrant. After that, add your liquids, your spices, and whisk those up, get them incorporated. And everything well blended. That's going to be the bath for those jumbo shrimp. Alright, make sure you got an oven mitt because cast iron is going to be hot. Imagine that. Pour that all over your shrimp. Get it all out. Stir them around so you want to get it all incorporated. And pop them in your oven. Set your timer for 7 minutes. Take a break. Then after 7 minutes, pull them out. Stir them around. The ones that are on top need to be on the bottom. Ones on the bottom need to be on the top. And then we're going to throw them back into the... Set it for another 7 minutes. And wait. Alright, we pulled those bad boys out of the oven and they smell delicious. But we're going to have to wait a little bit for them to cool down. Very, very hot at this stage. Also, by letting them rest just a little bit, they will absorb a lot more of that liquid, a lot more flavor. Don't want to overcook your shrimp. Shrimp cook fast and they get rubbery. So you want to add about 6 or 7 to a good sized bowl. And then come up in here, get that sauce. That's where all the flavor is going to be. Alright, I'll see you at the table. Alright, so this is our setup. We have our shrimp in the bowl. We have another little bowl that we're going to put the shells in. We have the French bread. And we have a napkin. No silverware, because barbecue shrimp, like chicken and pizza, is something that you eat with your hands. In New Orleans, we can eat barbecue shrimp as a meal. But if you want something a little bit more filling, serve it as an appetizer. Now the cost of jumbo shrimp can be quite high, but since I got them at Gators, they are just under $14 for 2 pounds, and I have paid more for frozen shrimp than I did for these jumbo shrimp, which makes it taste just that much more better. Alright, now for the best part, the bread. Tear you off a little piece. Sop up that cheese. So good. Now the best thing, well, after eating these shrimp, is that I have a ton of jumbo shrimp left, which I can make into a poor boy, an omelet.
You can barbecue it, boil it, broil it, bake it, saute it. There's shrimp kebabs, shrimp creole, shrimp gumbo, pan fried, deep fried, stir fried. There's pineapple shrimp, lemon shrimp, coconut shrimp, pepper shrimp, shrimp soup, shrimp stew, shrimp salad, shrimp and potatoes, shrimp burger, shrimp sandwich. That's about it.
Thank you for watching. If you're hungry for more of this strange and beautiful chaos that is the Gulf Coast, and if you haven't hit that subscription button yet, now's the time. Don't overthink it, just do it. Until next time, folks, this is Gulf Coastal Connections. Stay curious, stay hungry, and stay salty.